Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us. I have Danielle DiMartino Booth, CEO of Quill Intelligence, on the show with me today. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here today.
I'm glad you're here. All right, Danielle, you have served as an advisor to the president of the Dallas Fed Reserve and a myriad of other things. I'm not going to get into the long list of accolades by myself. I want you to bring out some background on you before we get into your book and Quill Intelligence, but give us some rounded views for our audience.
So I made my bones on Wall Street. I was at a firm called Donaldson, Lufkin and Jenrette, and what's interesting about that is we were basically a high yield and a private equity shop. So, from the time I was a rookie to now, my learning has become much more relevant as private equity has really risen up, if you will. When I left New York, I signed a non-compete. Believe it or not, I said equities in Dallas, which is a famous line from Liar's Poker. So I agreed to leave the industry. I called the publisher of the Dallas Morning News and I said, I'm in retirement. I'll work for free. That worked with his budget, and that is how Warren Buffett found me. That is how Richard Fisher found me and eventually asked me to come to the Fed, and that's where I served under him for almost a decade as his advisor on economics and the financial markets.
Something to be really proud of. All right, tell us about your book, Fed Up.
Fed Up was conceived about maybe 2 years after the worst of the crisis had hit. Internally at the Federal Reserve, there was a recognition that the inflation metrics that were being used were broken because they hadn't seen this housing bubble forming. They weren't able to capture asset price inflation. So there was an internal recognition, which was very encouraging. And then they decided to do approximately nothing about it. So at which point I got very fed up. They said, we know what we're doing. We know what we're using is broken and we're going to keep using it. So making the same mistakes over and over. Believe it or not, that got under my skin. I'm not a bureaucrat. I don't need models to make life work. I watch life and then I work from that. So I worked in a different frame of mind than most of my PhD peers. I'm not one, and nor was Richard. And that's what got me riled up to write a book like Fed Up, take 2.5 years out of my life to do so.
Okay. Tell me about your new company, Quill.
Quill Intelligence. So I've had an institutional family office, private equity type of product on a subscription basis for over a year now, and that's done very well. We're actually going to take that to the next level. We're going to be marrying that to machine learning and artificial intelligence. In the interim, though, we have launched what's called the Daily Feather. It's a retail product. I was approached on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. They said, "Are you that feather woman?" And so that's a daily that we produce. It's more for people who don't have the huge research budgets, but still want access to my way of thinking, which is unbiased. And that's $25 a month. But Quill Intelligence is, as I say, we are launching a research revolution. We're going to change the way that it is conceived and delivered. I'm so excited.
Okay, me too. I want to get into it. Drill down into the type of research that you're doing, how it is so revolutionary to the industry sector, and how it's going to help these CEOs.
Of course. So if you're Joe Q CEO, you don't want to know what Wall Street thinks you should know about where your industry is. You just want unvarnished, unbiased, non-agenda, apolitical information. And if you were able to clone yourself and see in every nook and cranny of your given industry what the developments are and what the developments are going to be looking ahead, and that's where machine learning comes in, because it starts to look to the future and see what's coming. But if you were Joe Q CEO or CFO, or you ran a major family office or a hedge fund, you want to know, as Wayne Gretzky would say, where the puck is going, not where it's been. And that differentiates itself. That mind frame differentiates itself from a lot of what we see from buy side and sell side research firms.
That's exactly what we're up to here. How are people going to be able to access that online, an app? What are you doing with that?
Well, there is a weekly distribution of what we call the Quill Flagship, which is the institutional weekly newsletter, and they can just go on the website, quillintelligence.com. It's all very straightforward. Look, we live in an Amazon world. If you are less accessible than Amazon, then you're going to fail right out of the gate. You have to be as simple as pushing a button or an icon on your phone.
Exactly. All right, we can talk as we go forward in future interviews about a lot of different topics that you bring up through your research. Is there anything else you want to tell the audience before we part ways today?
I would just say that you need to always know your source. My second master's is in journalism from Columbia University. I used to go after the market closed. I would race up to the West Side, and always know your source, whether you're consuming media or whether you're consuming research to help you make better decisions to run your company or to run money. Always have an appreciation for where the person authoring the report or doing the interview on TV, always have an appreciation for where they're coming from.
Thanks for being a guest on the show. It's been a pleasure for me, and I'm sure the audience, and we're definitely going to look you up on getting plugged into you.
Thank you much. I appreciate it. Look forward to next time.
You're welcome. Don't forget, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba.